Earthships are self-sustained, off-grid homes that are built out of recycled materials and conventional materials. They have a few systems that make them very unique. They collect rainwater from their roofs. This is one style of roofs, and basically it channels it through this tube into a cistern that is buried in back of the house. It filters the water through this system called the WAM. The homes are also powered by solar.
Power organizing module, and this is one of the global models.
Earthships filter their gray water through botanical cells that are inside the house. The south side is basically a greenhouse. It also filters the black water through botanical cells that are outside of the home.
Every year we follow a little bit
Here's
more,
one.
like I needed to drive it.
Earthships also use recycled materials like bottles and tires to build walls. So basically, found out there's an academy in New Mexico for Earthships, and I decided to take the journey out from California to go out there. This is my mom's house in Fontana. Spent day one of my trip in this Flying J parking lot. Parked right there. Called it a night. Actually woke up pretty late. It's like 10 o'clock almost. So that's a good sign. It's comfortable. So I'm gonna hit the road. Get over to Taos tonight. Cheers. Ended up getting a hotel room tonight. First day in Taos. Eating some Guadalajara grill burrito. Just gonna wash up and rest up. Hopefully I got everything I need. So this is the drive into the Mesa from Taos, New Mexico. The Mesa sits at about 7,000 feet above sea level. High desert. And here's a nice gentleman picking up trash on the side of the road. It's the vibe out here in Taos. The Gorge Bridge is basically about 5 minutes away from the academy. And I stopped here before going into the first day. That's the classroom building there. And this is the inside. This is the botanical cell inside the classroom. I believe they water this one because no one actually lives inside this building, so there's not a lot of gray water usage. So they end up watering it. There's a few little tomatoes growing in there. A few other nice, healthy looking plants. There's some pumpkins back there. On the first day, they actually gave us a little tour of the academy. That building there is currently used as headquarters, I believe, for the staff. This is a work site through Chas. And it was almost complete when I was there. It looked pretty finished, but the work site is definitely still a mess. Ha! And it had a very healthy looking botanical cell inside. This is basically a restroom in its construction stage. Nice bottle wall work going on there. And I believe this is a studio apartment attached to the house. Kind of a weird building, but an Earthship nonetheless. This is a walk through the botanical cell, the greenhouse part of the house. Through chas. Everything's still in construction, as you can see. Very nice to see everything in the works. That's a good part of the experience of the academy.
We don't know most of the time. You're just kind of going for it.
Just flowing with the wind.
Yeah.
I like
We're
it.
prepping this for some
Shoot from the
flagstone like here.
Shoot from tip technology. I'll learn all about it.
What's your name?
Santi,
Santi, I'm Casey.
right on.
I'm going.
Santi, cool man. See you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Casey and Gunner, some of the instructors at the academy. Very cool guys. Watch out for the dog, man. Guy bites. This was after the first day. We actually decided to go check out the hot springs. Some of the other students knew about it, and we decided to check it out. And it was actually pretty cool. A little hike down the Rio Grande. Nice little hike down into the hot springs. This is the view from the hot springs. Can't show you the hot springs, but this is the view from the hot springs. And this is a traffic disaster on the parking section of the hot springs. Too many people ended up showing up. It was hilarious. And this is where I camped out the first night. Right out in the camping site somewhere. This is the morning. And this is the first day of work, actually. This is a building of a bottled wall with cobb, basically. Just cobb and bottles. This is what the mix looked like. And just building bottle walls. First lesson that I got to do. It was pretty cool. Very, very interesting stuff. Very easy to do. Just plastering it on there. You can actually touch cob with your hands, unlike cement, because it's basically just mud. So you can go no gloves on this stuff. And
When your finished coat gets dull like that, you're ready to slick trowel it. I'm gonna mist it, wet it down, and use the edge of my trowel pushing in. And see the clay just come right up to the surface?
here we have a mix of cob. It's basically 2 parts sand, 1 part clay, and a handful of straw. And you mix it with water so you like the consistency. Here's a nice Earthship called the Hive. It's actually a very dysfunctional Earthship. It's a 2-story Earthship, and it was used as student housing. Here's the entrance towards the hive. You actually go through the main entrance up those stairs there, but I'm gonna go through the utility room or something. I'm not sure what this bottom door is, but nonetheless, here's the hive. Some mattresses being stored in here. This is not the right way to get in, but this is how I was getting in. Ha. And here we have an east-facing greenhouse, which is very ineffective. but there is still some plants in there. Seems like could use a little more upkeep. There's some certain plants that would probably thrive in this environment, but it does get very cold and it doesn't get as much sunlight as most plants like. So remember to face your greenhouses south for effectiveness. There's the Mesa sage fields. This house was built by a man that actually ran out of money halfways, or I'm not sure if they finished it or what, but it was a project gone wrong basically, and the academy just took it back over and uses it as student housing after they bought it back from the original designer. And this is a downstairs south-facing greenhouse area, which just has this funny little bench. And this is a stairway up to the second floor. It's a very nice building. It's very fun and cool to look at and walk through. There's Mr. Reynolds in his youth. And here's the kitchen. The few of the buddies who I met just hanging out. This is a cat that lives here with the house tenants. They take care of the cats.
What happened, buddy?
Those are all students that were doing the academy with me. This is a nice room right here with the stove. Turn that thing on when it gets pretty cold, and it works while it's on, but if that thing is not on, this is a very, very cold room. It's a very cold house in general because of the fact that it's 2 stories, and it gets very cold out there on the Mesa. So that's the reason why it's not considered an actual functional Earthship, because an Earthship would actually keep a house nice and warm no matter how cold it was outside. And this one doesn't really do that. There's maybe one room that does out of the whole building, or 2, I'm not sure. This is actually a nice little walk up to my favorite room of the house, which we called the pyramid room. And this is a very magical place. As you can see, it's got a 360-degree view, but it's actually covered with some shade cloth or something up there, so you actually get maybe 90% of the, or 90 degrees out of the whole thing. But yeah, this was a room where we would just go into and play some music. A lot of the academy students played instruments. We had a couple of guitars, saxophone, some hand drums. It was freaking awesome in here. Favorite spot for sure out of this whole house. And that's the view. As you can see, a lot of sagebrush out there. Just pretty much nothing but sagebrush and hippies out in the Mesa. This is my apartment. For a month, slept in the back of my truck. That air mattress didn't last long, but I made it through. Here's a nice little sesh. The bonfire and a full moon. Very nice. Very cool guys out there. And that's the full moon right there coming up. And there's the full moon halfway's up, and it looks like the sun. It's not. It's a moon. Hey, you guys, it's just the moon. Just jamming on the Mesa. But back to school we go. Here's a nice bare Earthship. This is another one of the tours that they took us on. But this was a good one to see all the guts from inside before they plaster all the walls. And you could see all the plumbing for, I believe this is the kitchen area, maybe the laundry room. Yeah, maybe the laundry room area against the wall. I'm not sure, but maybe it's the kitchen. I don't remember at this point. But nonetheless, it was a good tour to see the mechanics of it all and how they all set them up, which we also learned during the Earthship Academy, how to install all these things. Here's the outside of the same house. It's nice and smooth and flat on the top, which is one of their more later models of Earthships. Keep it simple and functional instead of complicated and labor intensive. Those are the tunnels that they built to ventilate the house. They're buried in the soil. And once school goes out, we decide to go on hikes around the Taos area. Very nice place to go hiking. Oh my gosh, beautiful foresty, natural views. Downtown Taos is pretty nice. Very welcoming place. This is just a few pictures I took at a restaurant. Just funny, no big deal. And back to work we go. Here we're working on some cement plaster on this tire wall. There's actually tires in back of that. So we're gonna go ahead and cement it, plaster it on there. You'll see a good instructor show us how in a second.
So you want to work on using your whole trowel like that. When you
This is Phil.
first start, they do this.
Very cool instructor there at the academy.
See what I'm saying? You a little bit on the tip, butter it on. But really, it's the full trowel that is where you want to move to. Because using the full trowel is how you get shape. This top corner, see that? I roll over it. And if I roll over and I go down the line, I can make it all the same.
That's kind of what we ended up doing. Plastering the whole thing. And scratching it for another layer that we would do maybe the next day or something. I'm not sure when we finished it. And that's the work site outside of this. This is what they called a simple survival.
Take the same approach. So that one that's really, really hard probably had
Here's
a
us
pretty
learning about
stiff
tire
sidewall,
walls.
and we really had to jam the soil in there. The ones next to it that maybe don't feel so hard had a more flexible sidewall, so it was much easier to get them up to the targeted height and have a kind of not so hard tire to be.
I believe that's Dan and his Earthship. This is a different Earthship that we were working on. And this is where I actually learned how to make window boxes. This was a good work site, very educational. And I was just looking at the wall here. And that's Rory, another instructor, very cool guy. Earthship veteran out there. And these guys have been doing it for quite a while. I'm surprised that a lot of them keep at it.
This one's wider, this one's shorter. Instead of like hanging it on one side, just kind of split the difference. And you can do that.
And that's some of the students doing very OSHA approved methods of construction. But nonetheless, you know, they got it up there and got it nice and straight. And we actually built that entire window wall for the greenhouse in a couple of weeks. It was up from nothing. It was just bare tires to an entire wall. This is some of the students learning how to make a door frame. This is another different door frame, but nonetheless another one. And this is the first day I was out there in October and it started snowing. It was very cool to see the transition when I first got there to towards the end it was snowing. This is another lesson but on electrical that we did. And this is another hike that we went on. This is actually a treasure hunt that we went on. Some of the students decided to try out this super secret treasure hunt that they found on the internet. We did find a treasure, but unfortunately we couldn't take it home with us because it was a national forest of New Mexico. It was freaking beautiful.
Dude, I feel like we're hella close.
See, this is where it's pretty much we're hella close.
No fucking way.
Beautiful waterfall and very exciting day. I'll never forget that beautiful hike we went on. This is actually the last day after everybody took the test. We got to lounge around and eat pizza. And Bear, the homie Bear, was out there playing the sax, all sexy, you know. Very cool. Very nice experience out there at the Earthship Academy. Learned a lot. Met a bunch of amazing people, and it was a great time. I wish I could do it again. Hopefully one day.
I'm gonna leave the past alone.